Do you have an Instapot? Is the answer yes? Do you love it as much as I love mine? Or do you not have one and think that we are all crazy and in a little bit of a cult? Or maybe you got one for Christmas and you're still just not quite sure what you want to do with it. Maybe you've been using yours for a while, but you've gotten a little stale and bored with what you're doing. Today, I am sharing some of my favorite ways of using my Instapot that are not meals or part of a meal. So I hope you will stick around and listen to ways to make your life a little easier with your Instapot. Hey there, I'm Amy Connell. Welcome to Graced Health. This podcast is for women who want simple and grace-filled ways to take care of themselves and age their bodies well. And of course, we like to enjoy a little bit of chocolate in the process. I recently went to Bed Bath & Beyond to get a replacement for my NutriBullet, which I've had for at least 4 years, maybe 5. It had totally run its course. My husband said, well, why don't you just get it on Amazon because it'll be here tomorrow or the next day? And I said, well, I could, but I have this 20% off Bed Bath & Beyond coupon, which we all, hopefully you have one in your area. I love, and of course, 20% off, you can't beat that. So I got myself in my car and drove down to Bed Bath & Beyond. It's not too far away, about 15 minutes or so. As I'm pulling in the parking lot, I went, oh, I forgot my coupon, but I was there and I really wanted that new NutriBullet to use because, like I said, the old one, it had gotten a lot of love. We'll just call it that. I just made the decision, you know what? We're just going to go in and we're going to get it. And maybe I'll be able to pull one offline or, get on their emailing list and give them my burner email address and I can get the coupon one way or another. I got the NutriBullet and I'm standing in line kind of on my phone trying to figure it out. And this lady ahead of me, just in line ahead of me, turns around and she has this, I'm not kidding, probably an inch thick of Bed Bath & Beyond coupons. And she looked at me and she looked at my stuff and she just pulled out a coupon. She said, hey, would you like this? And I was like, oh, thank you. I mean, just what an angel that was and how generous she was just to give me a coupon I hadn't even engaged with her. Like I hadn't even made small talk. She just offered me this coupon. In her hand was an Instapot. And so after that, I was like, okay, well, let's talk to her. She's my new friend. So I was like, hey, are you getting an Instapot? Do you have one? What do you think? And she was like, well, I'm getting it because everybody tells me I need one, but I'm really not sure what I'm going to do with it. And I said, oh, it's great. There's so many things. Just look around. You can do it. So she checks out and then I check out. And then I remember, oh yeah, I have a podcast episode coming up on what to do with an Instapot. What I really wanted to do was chase her down in the parking lot, give her my card and say, I have an episode coming up about what to do with your Instapot. But I thought that might just be taking the relationship to a really weird and awkward level since we had just met. Now, if you received an Instapot for Christmas or recently and you don't know what to do with it, or maybe like I said in the intro, maybe you've had one and you're just kind of caught in the same things over and over and over, I want to share with you some of the ways that I use mine to create efficiency in the kitchen, to make my life a little bit easier on busy weeknights or during lunches. And they aren't recipes. There are a million different Instapot recipes out there. Obviously, you can go to Pinterest, but these are ways that you can kind of set yourself up for success depending on what it is and for the meals that it is. Now, by the way, I am learning. I need to number these. I've done so many of these episodes that I start with numbering them and then I don't. So I will try and stay in a little bit of order as I'm going through these. And I will tell you too, all of these are on the show notes. So you make sure you go check them out at gracedhealth.com/Instapot2020. And then the other thing that I've done for you is I've kind of created a quick little cheat sheet for you, because some of these, it's like, this is the item, this is the amount of water, what to do with it, and how long to cook it. So I find myself, and again, I make these things up for myself, just like the notes from Roberta Anding. I make these things up for myself, and then I think, well, if I need them, then maybe it'll help you. So I've just created this cheat sheet. If it helps you, go download it. It's free. It'll make it easier, so that way you don't have to spend time Googling it. Let's go ahead and dig in. The first thing that I love using my Instapot for is as a chafing dish. So I'm not even cooking anything in it. What I do is I add about a cup or two of water to the bottom of the Instapot, and then a trivet came with mine. Now, if you don't have a trivet, that's okay. Sometimes a lot of people will have those collapsible vegetable steamers that go like in our saucepans. So put that in there. You just need something to elevate your food and get it out of the water, but you need the water in there. This little realization came about by accident. I have very full days, but I have flexible days. I really try and work my business time and my training time during the day. And that way I'm available when my kids are, all the things of kids and sports and activities and all of that business. Last year, I was looking at my day, and I don't remember what time it was, but my son had a basketball game, and it was like right smack dab in the middle of the dinner hour. It was too early to eat before. And then I knew when we got home, it was going to be really late. And as I'm saying this, I think maybe my parents were visiting. And so it was like more than just the four of us. And I knew that I had a lot of food to make. I took a chance and I grilled up a bunch of chicken. My family likes chicken thighs a lot better than chicken breasts. They're just a little bit more moist. They have some more iron in it. It's a good source of nutrients. This is not a nutrition discussion, Amy. Stay in your lane. Anyway, so I grilled up a whole bunch of chicken thighs and then put the water in the bottom of the Instapot, put the chafing dish on, put the chicken thighs on it. So again, none of it was sitting in the water. I just closed the lid and I hit keep warm, which basically turned into a chafing dish, just like we have on, buffet tables or whatever. And so it kept it warm. It kept the moistness circulating. And I tell you what, it was like those chicken had just come off the grill. They were moist, they were juicy, they weren't dried out, which are all three of saying the same things. But I hope you get the point that they really came out nice. So if you are in one of those time crunches where you can spend a little time ahead of time and then put it on the trivet, and then you can go back later and pull it out, and it's just like it had come off the grill. So you can probably do this with just about anything. I typically just use it for the chicken, but play around with it. See what you can do. The second thing I do with the Instapot, and I probably do this more than anything else that I'm going to talk about today, is I will bulk cook rice. My family goes through an exorbitant amount of rice. My husband and I are, I don't want to say gluten-free, but we really try to avoid it without being fussy. When people are feeding us gluten, that's okay. We'll just have it then. But in general, when we're home, we're gluten-free. I did a blog post about the decision and the process that we did that I can link to it below. I don't think gluten is the devil, you guys. Bread is awesome. I love it. It's just one of those decisions that we made, and he has arthritis, and it was just really good for his inflammation. Anyway, stay in your lane, Amy. So rice, let's get back to rice. I came home, last time I went to Costco, came home with a 12.5-pound bag of long grain organic brown rice. My husband was like, are we opening up an Asian restaurant? I mean, what is the deal? And I said, you have no idea how much rice we go through. I mean, he does because he eats it all the time, but I cook a lot of rice. My kids love rice. It's something I need. Cooking it ahead of time, and especially the long grain brown rice, that's going to take a good 25 or 30 minutes. And I don't always want to spend the time doing that. And I don't always want to have the cleanup of another saucepan when I'm done with dinner. What I do with the Instapot is I put in 4 cups of rice, dry rice. Well, I rinse it off first, of course, and then I stick it in the Instapot. I put 7 cups of water in, a little bit of salt, and yes, I put a little bit of butter in there. I think it helps just kind of keep it, gives it a little bit of flavor and keeps it from sticking so much. And then I cook it. I have to be honest, off the top of my head, I can't remember how long I cook it. I think about 25 or 26 minutes, but it will definitely be in that cheat sheet. I use this for any of those nights that I'm cooking like chunk of meat and then I need to put it over rice. One of the easiest and quickest meals that I have for my family, or I should say easiest, is a chicken verde. I'll put that in the show notes. I'll link to that. It's like, I'm not kidding you. It takes like 3 minutes to put together in the morning, throw it in the slow cooker. I have another one called Instapot garlic and teriyaki beef, something like that. This is our staple for Thursday nights because I go to Toastmasters on Thursday nights. And personally, I don't love that meal, but everybody else does. So that is what they have for dinner. And then I just make myself a shake or do something simple. But anyway, it allows me to cook the meat base of whatever that is and then just pull out the rice. So when the rice is done cooking, I let it cool down for a little bit. I fluff it up, and then I will put whatever a family size portion amount in a quart size Ziploc freezer bag. For me, for my family, that's like 2.5 or 3 cups. Adjust according to what your family is. And then I kind of pat it out so it's nice and flat and seal it up, and then I just stack them on top. So I actually did this yesterday. I probably got 4 family size servings, I think it was, out of that. And that's done. So that'll last me like a day and a half. No, just kidding. We don't go through it that fast, but we do go through it quickly. And it's something that's nice. And I don't have to mess with cooking it at dinner, especially if it's something that I'm having a really quick turnaround time in. I will just take out one of those bags in the morning at lunchtime, something like that, and just let it thaw out on the counter. If you're worried about that, then take it out the night before, stick it in your refrigerator, and you can defrost it the proper way. I just throw mine on the counter because I'm a little lazy and I don't always think ahead enough. Number 3, the third thing I do, I make hard-boiled, I'm just going to call them hard-boiled eggs. I can soft boil them too. I'm going to be honest. I never knew that you could boil eggs and not have the yolk like gray. That's just always how I've done it. I'm sure my mother taught me the right way. I'm sure I didn't listen to her because she was telling me and I was like, yeah, mom, I got it. I'll figure it out. And my mind is blown to the medium boil. I don't love and boiled eggs. I don't personally love the runny middle, though I do love that with a fried egg. But anyway, so I will boil some eggs and do 10 or 12 at a time. And these are great ways, obviously, to get some protein in, to get some good healthy fats. Sometimes I eat the whole egg. Sometimes I eat just the whites. I wish I could give the yolks to my dog, but that dog, I swear, for a stray, she has the most sensitive stomach in the history of all princess stray dogs. So I can't give her that. I just end up having to throw it away, or I give it to one of my people. I don't know if you got a chance to listen to the episode on how to fuel your teen athlete with Roberta Anding, but these eggs are a fantastic source of protein. She talked about that a little, if I remember correctly, but those are just a really great, easy way. And then the hard boiled, again, it's ready, it's done. Now, this is a trick I figured out recently that maybe you know, and maybe you're going to say, well, duh, Amy. I mean, obviously. If I'm home and I know I'm going to be having some eggs, so actually this is me right here in this very minute. When I'm done recording, I'm going to go have some hard-boiled eggs. I will take them out of the refrigerator and then just let them sit out, and then they peel a lot easier. Did you know this? Was this a secret everybody was keeping from me? I just figured this out in the last 6 months. And it makes a world of a difference when you peel it, because nothing is worse to me than having to peel an egg and it's little by little by little by little. That's great when taking off a Band-Aid, not so much when I'm peeling an egg. So there's your trick of the day, unless you already knew it, and you probably did because you're probably smarter than I am. Moving on, number 4, broth. I was inspired by one of my very favorite cookbooks, which is Run Fast, Eat Slow by Shalane Flanagan and Elise Kopecki. They have several different recipes in that cookbook, but I'm just going to tell you, basically, you get some water, you get a bunch of vegetables, you throw it in, and then you cook the Instapot. You cook it for several hours, maybe it's like 2 hours or so. And all of the nutrients go in, you drain it up. It is kind of a mess. It's not something quick, but then you have homemade broth. They have a fantastic long run mineral broth in that one. You can also add a chicken carcass and make bone broth out of it. We have done that. And obviously both of these are great for when you're making soups or if you want to add it to your rice as a liquid instead of water. I mean, you can figure out what to do with the broth, but I do really like making the Instapot with broth. I have done it in the past trying to make bone broth with my slow cooker. And I swear I would never do that again because first of all, you had to let it cook like overnight or for 24 hours or something wild like that. So I'm waking up every hour in the middle of the night wanting to make sure that my broth is okay. And then I'm worried and, your mind gets going in the middle of the night on things that just don't even make sense. So I'm like, well, what if it shorts out and what if it creates a fire and all of these things that I didn't need to worry about? And it was just a pain. It was way more mental capacity than I wanted to spend making broth. I'll just buy the stupid broth, which by the way, I do buy a lot of broth as well. But when I have the ingredients or when someone's coming down with a sickness, like if we're getting a cold or heaven forbid a flu, I totally intentionally make this stuff. I'm a huge believer in it. Number 5, steel cut oatmeal. I love steel cut oatmeal. I love oats in general. This is another great one that you can make ahead of time, make a big batch and eat it for whatever your first meal is of the day, or heck, even your last meal. I do about 2 cups of oats, 5 cups of liquid, and then I cook it for 4 minutes, naturally released for like 20 minutes. I have found that when I put it all in a container and pull it out like the next day or the day after that, sometimes I need to add a little bit more liquid in it. Whatever I use, I typically use almond milk, but you can use your regular milk or your water or whatever it is, because it's a grain, it will continue absorbing the liquid. So, but that's not a big deal. You just put it in your bowl and, just add a little bit more and mix it up and heat it up. And I will, somewhere in the show notes, include a full recipe for the steel cut oatmeal because it's just the oats in itself. I don't like that personally. Maybe you do. I don't. Number 6, sweet potatoes. Sweet potatoes in the Instapot take on a whole new life of their own. My mother always cooked potatoes in the microwave. I'll eat them that way. I don't love them. Baking is good, of course, but man, it takes a long time. And then of course for me, it's like the sugar, the fluid liquid kind of comes out and then it's like going on the bottom of the oven and it's bubbling up and it smells like burnt sugar. And I don't want to do that. I'm just going to throw it in the Instapot. Now, my friend Candace, and you met her on the Faster Way to Fat Loss bonus episodes, she will cut them in half. I had never tried this. And then I tried it and I thought, this is brilliant. It takes even less time to cook. So that was great. And it didn't compromise the moistness of it, which I was afraid that it would. But again, I'll do like a cup of water. I'll put a trivet on it. You can either put your whole sweet potato on or cut it up. I'm totally cutting mine up not cut it up, cut it in half. But in the future, that's what I'm doing. You cook it on high for about 15 minutes. And then honestly, it's so, like I said, it just does something magical. So I take it out and then I smash it up and that's it. Like that's as fancy as I get for that. And then number 7 is beets. Now I know there's a huge craze with beets right now. I'm not even sure I ever had a beet growing up. They just sound disgusting. They did to me, at least. I really enjoy them now. I feel like a little bit like Dr. Seuss, like I love them all the different ways. What is that? Green eggs and ham? I can't even remember, but I like them warm. And what I do is, I'll tell you how to cook them in a second, but I just take those beets, I put some crumbled goat cheese with it, some salt and pepper, and then just a drizzle of agave syrup or maple syrup, just a little bit, because that has a lot of sugar in it. It's fantastic. So that's like a great snack. You could actually make that as a meal. The other thing I do is I will take them frozen, because after I cook them, I make a whole bunch of them. I put them in a Ziploc baggie, I freeze them, and then I'll take like a quarter out or 2/4 if it's a small beet, put them in a smoothie, and get some added fiber in there, get some added nutrients, lots of good things for my muscles. And that's a great way also to get some more vegetables in. Then what I do, and this sounds a little crazy, but I take the water at the bottom of the Instapot, I let it cool down, and then I go give it to my lemon tree. Why do I do this? I don't know. I just decided it was going to be a good idea. And I tried to identify, I'm like, why is this? Why do I do it? And I think it's because beets come from the earth, and I'm just putting it back into the earth. And I almost feel like it's, this is a stretch. I get it. But I almost feel like it's like a reference to, that verse in Genesis that talks about from dust you are and to dust you will return. I know that God was not telling Moses about beets right now or in this verse, but I just kind of feel like it's that same concept. Like let's contribute or continue adding the nutrients back down into the soil, which will give me lemons. And I'm telling you, my lemons are the sizes of oranges this year. So I will definitely continue to doing that. And I'm just going to say it's because of my beet juice and my coffee grounds that I put in there. Anyway, the way that you cook beets is scrub them up, obviously, cut off the tips, quarter them. They are dense, and so you do want to give them smaller sizes to cook, because otherwise it's going to take a really long time. And then I put it in for about 16 minutes, let it naturally release for a few minutes, and you're good. Then you've got to find that sweet spot of them still being warm enough that the skin peels off easily, but not cool enough that the skin sticks to it. So you don't want to like burn your hands, but you do want them to be warm, because the peel will come off easier. Not unlike my eggs, I suppose. That just occurred to me. Number 8 is a chocolate cake. Now I'm going to tease you with this, and this is not very cool of me, but I'm going to do it anyway. I have a recipe coming up the week of Valentine's Day of all the things that I like with chocolate in it. And it's not all healthy, but I always say at the beginning of every episode that we enjoy a little chocolate in the process. So I decided I'm just going to put my money where my mouth is, and we're going to have a whole episode on chocolate. Some of the recipes are healthy, some of them are not. This particular one is a gluten-free chocolate cake. It is moist and delicious, and you will love it. And then number 9, this is just like a little side note almost, is meat that cooks that is not shredded. One of my kids has this aversion to shredded meat. I don't know why. He loves meat. He loves it, but for some reason he doesn't like it shredded. I have found with the Instapot, I can cook up, or I can cut up the chunks of meat. So like with that garlic teriyaki beef that I was talking about, I cut that into chunks of meat. I cook it and it stays in a chunk of meat, and he eats it. I have no idea. I guess it's a texture thing, but he likes rice. So I don't know. Someone can explain that to me if you understand why. But anyway, Instapot, great for keeping meat unshredded, but cooking quickly. Okay, let's do a super quick recap. And then I'm going to tell you the one simple thing I want you to remember. Number 1, use it as a chafing dish. Number 2, cook your rice in it. Lots and lots of rice. Number 3, hard boil your eggs, soft boil your eggs. Just cook a bunch of eggs ahead of time. Number 4, make some broth. Number 5, make a huge batch of steel cut oatmeal. Number 6, cook up some sweet potatoes. Number 7, make your beets. Put them in your smoothies or just eat them plain. Number 8, chocolate cake, recipe coming in a couple weeks. And number 9, non-shredded meat. Cubed meat, maybe? Is that a better way of saying it? I'm not really sure. And of course, I don't have an even 10 because that would just end too perfectly, and I don't have that. Hey, I just wanted to jump on really quickly. I know I haven't done this before. I have been in the middle of editing this and realized I've made a lot of mistakes and I need to clarify some things. I want to invite you to join me over on my Graced Health Facebook page on the Wednesday morning following the release of this episode, where I'm going to jump on, give some clarifications, give some additional information. It will be kind of in the same vein as the fact checking that Dax Shepard does on Armchair Experts, but probably with less F-bombs, because I don't typically do that. Okay, we'll go back to the one simple thing right now. What's the one simple thing I want you to remember? Just keep that Instapot in your mind as a tool you can use as you go through all of your kitchen processes. It may be that you can use it more often than you think, and you may find it can simplify your meals with just a little planning and preparing. Hey, I want to thank all of you who have rated and reviewed this podcast. That always makes such a difference, and I really appreciate it. I want to give a particular shout out to PDS Charger. Thank you so much for that kind and generous review. It really warmed my heart, and I just appreciate you taking the time to do that. I have heard feedback from some of my friends who are like, I don't know how to leave a review. So here is the quick and dirty. This is on Apple because I think most people are listening to this on Apple. Get on your phone, go to search, type in Graced Health, and it's going to bring up like the main Graced Health podcast. Scroll down and you'll see ratings and reviews. You can tap to rate, give an honest stars, 1 out of 5. Of course, I like the 5s, but you can do whatever you want. And then go down, scroll down just a little bit more and click on write a review. It's that simple. Sometimes I get it. Like sometimes it's really hard, but that's the best way to do it. So go to search, type in Graced Health. You'll get the main podcast page, scroll down, hit your stars, and write a review. Anything on there, I really appreciate. Honesty is best, of course. Don't forget to get the cheat sheet on the cooking times and how to cook over at gracedhealth.com/Instapot 2020. That's INSTAPOT. Yes, I shortened it because that's what we all call it. gracedhealth.com/Instapot 2020. Get your cheat sheet. You can print it out, and that way you don't have to spend your time Googling. One less thing to do. Okay, that is all for today. Go out there and have a great day.